Good morning. Today's Daf Yomi is actually the entire month of March is sponsored by Gray Warren Bolton in memory of her brother Bobby Thomas, her mother Beverly, her grandmother Grace. And so we are grateful to Gray for sponsoring, and we're studying in memory of all their neshamos. So we're in the bottom of 25b. Today's Daf Yomi is 26 as we go through the process of Maseches Chagigah, and we come close to finishing what we've been doing for 2 years, or more than 2 years, Seder Moed. So the Mishnah says, the basic law is, as the background, we know that the Amei Haaretz, the people who were the people of the land, i.e. they were not part of the rabbinic class, the rabbi said that they were rabbinically tamei, ritually impure. So if they touch the utensils, they're going to make the utensils tamei. So their utensils are going to be something that we stay away from. However, we had another problem, which was that in Jerusalem, we didn't use the utensils. We weren't allowed to build furnaces in Jerusalem because it was bad for the air quality of Jerusalem to have these furnaces. And so therefore, the rabbis had a problem because there was another issue in Jerusalem, which was that the other issue in Jerusalem was that if you use the food for sacred food, then after 2 days you weren't able to use it, because what would happen is they would absorb the kodshim, and the kodshim after 2 days it became what's called expired meat, nosar. And expired meat you're required to burn. So you're not allowed to leave around. So therefore, these pottery utensils would have to be destroyed. So then we'd have a shortage of pottery utensils. So therefore, the rabbis suspended certain of their rabbinic decrees because we have a basic principle. You can only make a decree if most of the community can tolerate it. The rabbis were practical people, so if you can't tolerate it, they have to suspend the decree. So therefore, the Mishnah says, from Modiim, which was 15 mil, a mil is approximately 3/4 of a mile. So from, let's say, 10 miles out of, or not 10 miles, 15 mil is like, whatever, 3/4. This is Modiim. Yeah, Modiim Lefnim, yes, but Modiim and Lefnim is we're going to consider that to be Ne'eman al Kli Cher. So there we suspend the laws of the Amei Haaretz being ritually impure with respect to their utensils, and we say we can use your utensils from Modium inwards, because at that point we're going to say otherwise there'd be a shortage of these pottery utensils. But from Modium outward, we're not going to believe. We're not going to believe them. Ketzad, how do we determine this? So what does this mean? Hakadar. So let's say you have the potter, or you have the potter who's selling the pots. Let's say he comes inside Modium. So hu hakadar vein hakaderos. So both with respect to the pottery person and the pots that he makes, and the purchasers, all of them are going to believe that if they're inside the walls of Modiim, they're inside Modiim. So we're going to say that we're going to say that his pots that he makes and those pots that he made for himself, and also the people who purchase it for the chaverim, all these people are believed. But once they go outside of Modiim, Eino Neman, because it's only they're not believed, because this dispensation is only when they're inside the boundaries of Modiim. So the Gemara says, but what about Modiim itself, that city itself? So the Gemara says, Tana, we learned to the Brisa Modiim itself. Sometimes we're going to consider Modiim as though it's inside Modiim, and sometimes we're going to, and therefore you can use the pottery utensils, and sometimes we'll view it as outside. Ketzad, how so? Kadar Yotzei, the Chaver Nechnas. Let's say the potter is on his way out of Modiim, the Chaver is coming in, then you could use it, because otherwise you're not going to get the pots, the utensils. So then you can use it. Shneim Nechnasin, if both of them are going in, then you're not going to be able to use it, because just wait till you come inside Modiim. While you're in the city, don't use it. Or on top of 26a, Shneim Yotzin, or if both of them are on the way out, Kilachutz, then it's going to be like they're outside Modiim, because you should have bought it when he was inside the city with you. Amar Abaye, Afanan, Nami Tanina. Abaye says we also learned if you have a potter that sells his pots, and then he enters inside Modiin. That's what that's what we learned. That's what our Mishnah had said. Meaning once he's inside, only once he's inside Modiim can you purchase it. A Modiim Gufa, but if he's in the city itself, well, Mehemlan, we're not going to rely upon him because you have to wait till he comes in. But what about the concluding clause, which says Ema Seifa Yatza, that once he leaves Modiim, Eino Neman, he's no longer believed. Modiim Gufa Neman, this teaches us that Modiim itself is believed. So we see that they're talking about two different scenarios. One is where the Kader is leaving and the Chaver is coming in, then you can rely upon and purchase it even in Modi'in. But if both of them are leaving or both of them are coming in, you can't purchase it. Shmamina. So now Gemara says that we learned we learned in the Brisa that you only, when you say we believe the Amei it's about his pottery utensils, that's only by the small pottery pots. That's only for kachim, by the small pottery pots and only for kachim. Rashi tells us later on in this page that all these are stringencies where kachim is more lenient than truma. So here we're going to believe it only for kachim because in Jerusalem there was a shortage. If it's so small that you can take it in one hand. Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan says, even if you can't take it in one hand, if two hands is still going to be believable. Rish Lakish says, when do we say that you can use these pots of the Amei Aretz, the pottery utensils? Only if they're empty. We only extend it as far as the utensil, but not the food, not the food in it of a Malayan. But if they would be filled with food, we wouldn't be allowed to use it because the food would be tamei, and that would make the item tamei. So that's what Rish Lakish said. But Rabbi Yochanan said, no, afilu malayim, even if they're filled with food at that time, we're still going to say the utensil is tahor. Afilu afi karsuso toho. Even if you fill them with liquids that are not kachim, we're still going to say the utensil is not tamei. V'amar Rava, and Rava said, Umoder Rabbi Yochanan b'mashkin atzman she'ein tamein. Even though the utensil is tahor, though Rabbi Yochanan would admit that the liquid itself, the dispensation for the Amei Aretz's utensils does not extend to the liquid. So you have a situation that the utensil, if you pour out the liquid, you could use it. And even though the liquid you can't use. But you say, okay, this is a contradiction. If the liquid in it is tamei, how can it be that the utensil is not tamei? Don't be shocked about this, because indeed we had this back a few days ago on 22b, where we had the scenario where you have a dead body on the bottom floor, you have a skylight, and you have an upper floor, you have utensils with liquids in them, and you put in between the floors this pottery utensil of the Amei Aretz. And we said that the pottery utensil stops the ritual impurity from ascending upward only vis-a-vis the liquid item, because otherwise they'd be ruined. But the metal utensil that it was in, that can be purified. So therefore it doesn't extend that far. As our Gemara says, Sharei Login Moli Mashkin. If you have a utensil that's filled with liquid, Login Tamein to Mashiva, the utensil will be tamei for 7 days because you can immerse it and purify it. Umashkin tahor, and whereas the liquid itself is going to be tahor. So we see that Rabbi Yochanan already knows of this concept where something is tamei and the other thing where the food item is ritually impure, whereas the utensil itself is tahor. Agabai, and so now the next case is they used to have a gabai. Gabai is not like what we have in the synagogue today. A gabai is, guy gives out, you get risho and sheni, shlishi. No, the gabai here was a tax collector, was a hired gun from the king to come in and basically raid your house and take your stuff, like the taxes. So a gabai should not. Today we do it in a more sophisticated manner. the gabbai who enters into your house, and the robbers, if the robber, so we're concerned that the gabbai might have touched everything in your house and made it tamei, or the robber who stole something from you, they return your stolen objects, they return that we believe them to say we didn't touch anything. Whereas the meaning say they didn't make anything tamei. In Jerusalem, we believe you about the Kodshim, meaning to say, in Jerusalem, the Gemara is going to explain what that means. B'shasa regel, and during the festival, afal truma, meaning to say in Jerusalem, the whole year we believe the Amei Aretz about their Kodshim. But on the festival, we also believe him about the truma, meaning to say, it's such an unbelievable, exciting idea that that in Jerusalem, that the Amei Aretz, we say the whole year, we would say that if this person was not part of the rabbinic class, we're going to assume that anything you touch is ritually impure, is tamei. But comes along the holiday, and we can't function like that. You want to invite your friends over. You want to celebrate with your family, and your family is an Amei Aretz, whereas you're a holy roller. So what do? So the rabbi suspended these laws about the Amei Aretz with respect to truma on the holiday, and we say that the holiday is that the Amei Aretz he's not going to be tamei for the holiday with respect to his truma. Hold on 1 second. I want to text my friend Judah. He told me he was going to join, but he hasn't joined yet. So hold on, just give me 1 second. I'm just going to text him right now. Remind him. Hold on 1 second. Just tell him. Okay. All right, so now back to the Gemara. The Brisa says, we said in our Mishnah that the tax collectors who come in are believed to say that they didn't touch anything and thereby make it ritually impure. Is that really the case for our Minhu? But we have a Brisa, and the Brisa says, that if the tax collector comes in your house, kuo tamei. Once the IRS comes in your house, everything is tamei, not just that we don't believe them. So Gemara says, it depends who's with you. If you have a nachri, is who's with the tax collector when it comes in. If there was a nachri is somebody not of the Jewish faith. If he's with you, if he's with the tax collector, we're not going to believe the tax collector. But if he's not with the tax collector, we'll believe the tax collector when he says he didn't touch you. That if there was this nachri with them, we believe him to say we never went into your house in the first place. But we don't believe him to say, look, we went in, but we didn't touch anything. The verse says, why? What does it matter if there's this nachri with you? Why do we believe him only when the nachri is not with him? So Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Elazar, and so one says he's afraid of the nachri. The nachri is going to give him a hard time if he doesn't do a diligent search. So he's going to touch everything in the house to make sure you're not stealing from the king. By the way, not stealing. You're not taking the king's not losing out an opportunity to take your money. No, if he's with somebody else, he's going to be afraid he's going to be reported to the king. Big brother is watching. And so therefore, my benaya, what's the difference? If the nachri is not a distinguished person, then you're not afraid of the nachri, but you are still afraid that he's going to report you. Also, the robbers who return the utensils, we believe them to say that they didn't touch anything. Gemara says we have a contradictory source. The other alternative source says that when robbers enter into the house, he's not tamei. So which is it? Do we believe the robber or not believe the robber? Excuse me. The only place that's tamei is where they walk, which means wherever the robber walked is tamei. So it contradicts our mission, which says he's not tamei. So our Pinchas Mishmei, the Rav Papa or the Rava, depending on the text, Asu Tshuva. No, when do we believe the robber? When the robber returned the money on his own, returned the objects on his own, then we believe him because he repented. That's what our Mishnah says. When he returned the utensils, that's what we believe him. In Jerusalem, we believe them about Kodshim the whole year. We believe him about the large utensils, the very large utensils. The smaller utensils, we believe him even from Modi'in inward. But from Jerusalem, we believe him even on the large utensils for Kodshim. Because they weren't allowed to make furnaces in Jerusalem. It would be bad for the area. It would be air pollution. It would not be pleasant to live in. And so therefore, what they did was they said don't make furnaces, but then you have to get the utensils. So they had to make it practically speaking, they have to suspend certain laws in Jerusalem. So ironically, the holiest place of all was the place where they were most lenient about the ritual purity of the Amei Haaretz. In the time of the festival, they would also be lenient about the truma. What's the source for that? Because it says in the concubine of Gibeah, they all gathered together in one city like chaverim. Means to say when everybody gathers together, everybody's considered like chaverim, like expert in the laws of ritual purity. The verse makes them all as though they were chaverim. So now we're up to the next Mishnah post. So we said on the festivals, we don't view the Amei Aretz as making things tamei. But let's say you open something for the festival, and so the Amei Aretz could touch it. But now it's after the festival. The Amei Aretz touched it on the festival. What's going to be the law? So the Mishnah says, so somebody opens up his barrel, let's say of wine, or matchil b'isasa, or he starts his package of flour, I'll have a regal because it's the festival. And he's not worried about the Amei Aretz. So now the festival's over. Rabbi Yehuda says Yigmor. Rabbi Yehuda says you can still complete the thing. You don't have to worry that the Amei Aretz made it Tamei. Chum say Lo Yigmor. Chum say you can't complete it because it's now Tamei. So Yosef, Rabbi Amma, Rabbi Yitzchak Nafa, Kilad Rabbi Yitzchak Nafa, Pasach. So by the way, why does Rabbi Yehuda say complete it? Rashi says, because this is one of those areas where we say that we allow you to, Hutru Sofan, we allow you to do the final thing because of the beginning thing. Meaning to say, if we're not going to let you complete the barrel of wine, who's going to open up a barrel? You're going to open up a barrel of wine. You're going to have half the barrel finished, and now you're going to have to throw it out after the holiday, because now after the holiday we say the dispensation of the Amei Aretz is Tumah, no longer applicable. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda lets you finish it. But Chum say no, we're not worried about that. You'll still open your barrel of wine. So Yosef, Rabbi Amma, Yitzchak Nafa, killed Rabbi Yitzchak Nafa, Pasach. So one of them said, Chad Amar Mau Sheyani Cheno Regel Achar. Okay, according to Chachamim, who say you can't complete it, can you just leave it till the next holiday where the dispensation applies again? Amar Yidach, the other one says, what are you talking about? Yadakom Mashmishim, all these Amei Aretz are touching it over the holiday. And you want to just leave it for the next holiday? So the other one responds, but everybody was using it on the holiday, the Amei Aretz, and we allow you to eat it, so just leave it for the next one. The other one responds, do you think it's the same thing? Up until today, the rabbi said there's no such thing as tumah from the Amei Aretz on the festival. They're not tamei. But now that the festival ends, but now the festival ends, we're going to say they're tamei. So it's two totally different scenarios. So Gemara says, Nema Katanai. Let's say this is actually a dispute amongst the Tanaim. The Tani Chada, one source says, Yanichanel Regel Acher. One source says, leave it for the next holiday. And one source says, you leave it for the next holiday. Vitanya Idach. And the other one says, Lo Yanichanel Regel Acher. You're not allowed to leave it for the next holiday. So my laugh tonight, isn't this a dispute whether or not you're allowed to leave it? So the dispute between Rabbi Yami and Rabbi Yitzchak Nafa is just an earlier dispute whether or not you can leave it for the next holiday. And Mar says, no, it's not. It's actually the same dispute as our Mishnah. The one who says to leave it, that's Rabbi Yehuda from our Mishnah, who says Yigmor, complete it. The one who says you can't leave it, that's the Rabbanan who say that you can complete it. Mar says, Rabbanan, the Tizber, is this really logical? How Rabbi Yehuda Yigmar come? Rabbi Yehuda doesn't say leave it; he says complete it. Yigmar says, yeah, that's what he's saying. So this is what we have to say. The one who says don't leave it, that's Rabbi Yehuda. That's Rabbi Yehuda says you don't leave it, finish it. The one who says leave it, that's Rabbanan. And the Rabbanan say leave it and do it on the next holiday. What does it mean when Rabbi Yehuda says lo yanichana? He says ain't sarcha anicha. You don't have to leave it, but according to the Rabbanan, you're allowed to leave it for the next holiday. That's what we say here. Somebody had a question? Yes, George.
Well, didn't we study that there's a general principle that if you start something that, or like if a day starts, it counts as the whole day, things like that? Is this not like that? If once it begins in the state, it stays in that state?
So that's what they're debating. That's exactly what they're debating, whether it stays in that state. So they're saying that because it was a special dispensation for the holiday. Once the holiday was over, the dispensation wouldn't apply. That's it.
There were other things we did study. It seems to me that if you like a part of a day counted as a whole day, for example, in certain situations.
Yeah, so we'd have to say that there's a distinction between that situation. There, you're saying you started the day in one status, but here we're talking about the food item, whether or not the food item is ritually pure.
Okay.
So something different.
Okay.
Hold on. I don't know why I just froze up. Okay, I hope I'm not frozen. But yes, it's a good point to figure out the distinction exactly. So our Mishnah says, Misha Avar Aragel, once the holiday has passed over, Mavirin, so now that the Amei Aretz have left, but the food items are still going to be Tumeya. So the Gemara says, Misha Avar Aragel, once the holiday is passed, Mavirin al Taras Hazara. Then we say we take the utensils that the Amei Aretz touched in the temple, and we purify them, because now the holiday is over. Like Gemara says, Avar Rego Yom Shishi. Once Avar Rego, once the holiday has passed, Yom Shishi Lo Ayuma Virin Mipnei Kvod Shabbos. If the holiday ended on a Thursday night, on Friday we wouldn't put everything in the mikvah because of the honor for Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda says, Afo B'Yom Hey, even if the holiday ended on a Wednesday night, Shein Kohanim Penuyim, because the Kohanim would not be free because they had so many ashes to get rid of, to take off from the altar because of the many sacrifices. They wouldn't even have time to purify everything on Thursday. It's a big job. So the Gemara says, the Gemara explains, because the Brisa says, She'ena Kohanim Penuyim Milotzi Adeshin. Kohanim didn't have the time to get rid of the ashes, to take out the ashes. How would we purify the items in the temple? It says that they would immerse the utensils in the temple, and they would say, Hisaru. They would say, be careful, be very careful. Don't touch the table. Because the table you can't immerse after the festival, because you're not allowed to move it, because it says, Lechem panim lefanai tamid. You're not allowed to move it. Hold on. And furthermore, so it's not clear who they were warning. Rashi says that they were warning the Amei Aretz, they're warning the people. But how are the people going to get to that part of the temple to touch it? So the Meiri says that they were warning the Kohanim, who were not careful, generally speaking, about ritual purity. There were some Kohanim who were Amei Aretz. So it's a question who exactly they were warning. Maybe the non-Kohanim came in to bow down, and they were allowed to bow down. So that's what some say. So
we constantly had repair people coming in there to do. They had access all the time.
So maybe the repair people made it to me. That's also possible. So
they had that.
Yeah, right. So that maybe they're the ones.
That's the only place where even the Kohen Gadol can't come in. The lowly repairman can come in.
We learned that in Mesachas Yoma, that the people were able to go in. Exactly right. So that's another point, that maybe one of the repair people made it to me, and they were allowed to be there since they had a dispensation. Yep. Very good point. Very good point. All the utensils in the temple, they had doubles and triples of them. They had extras of them. That if the first ones became tamei, then they'll bring the other ones to replace it. All the utensils in the temple required immersion when the holiday ended, except for the altars, the altar of golden altar in the temple, and the altar that's called the Mizbeach HaOlah, which was the copper altar, which is also called the Mizbeach HaOlah, the sacrificial altar, because they are like the ground, because they're called Mizbeach HaDamah, they're like the earth, and something connected to the earth does not require immersion. This is also, by the way, true for Tfilas Kelim. Before you use a utensil, if it's connected to the ground, at all times, it doesn't require immersion. That's Rabbi Eliezer. That's Rabbi Eliezer's position. Chacham say, I'll tell you a different reason why they don't require immersion. It's because they're covered up. The Gemara is going to explain what that means. Tana, we learned Chisaru that they said Shema Tigu b'Shulchan Menorah. Our source of our Mishnah says, be careful not to touch a table. But another source says, be careful not to touch the table or the menorah, not just the table. You can't also touch the menorah. So meaning to say the menorah also can't be immersed. Why not? My time menorah. Why does our author of our Mishnah not say, be careful just not to touch a table. Why doesn't he mention the menorah? Because by the table, shulchan siv beit tamid. By the table, it says it has to be in front of me at all times. And the menorah, by the menorah, it doesn't say tamid. Lo siv beit tamid. It doesn't say at all times. Even though it says you shall light the candles every night. But Rashi says that means only from night to morning, but not 24 hours a day. That's what Rashi says. So Rashi says v'idach, but whereas the other source which says that you can't immerse the menorah either, he would say kivan dechsev has some menorah nochach hashulchan. Since it says the menorah is opposite the table, command dechsev beit tamid. It's like it says all times by the menorah as well. Command dechsev tamid tamid v'idach, and whereas the alternative source says no, that was just saying. Why did it say the menorah opposite the shulchan? It's just to establish the place of the menorah. So the Gemara says, the creates also an achasu. But I'll give you another proof that the menorah, I'll give you another proof that even if they touch the shulchan, it wouldn't become capable of becoming tamei. Why? You don't even have to worry because it's a wooden utensil that was made to rest in one place, and we have a concept that the wooden utensil that was made to rest in one place is not capable of becoming tamei because my time at dumia desakbina. In order for a wooden utensil to become tamei, it has to be similar to a sack. A masak metalta malay v'rekim, just like a sack can move something when it's full and when it's empty. I've called metalta malay v'rekim. So to anything that is moved when it's full, it's empty, and the table is not moved when it's full and when it's empty. So the Gemara explains, but this wooden item is also moved, and this wooden item is also moved while it's full and when it's empty. Meaning they used to move the table. Like Reish Lakish taught. It says in the verse in Leviticus that you shall place the loaves of bread on the pure table. From the fact that they call it a pure table, makal shu tamei, we see from here that it's capable of contracting tamei. So we see from here that the table was capable of contracting tamei, and it moved, because it was moving things. Ramai, but why is it capable of contracting ritual impurity? Also an achasu. Isn't it a utensil that's made to rest in one place, a wooden utensil, and so therefore it shouldn't be able to not contract tumah? They used to pick it up and they used to carry it and they would show it to the pilgrims. The table represented parnasa, represented making a living, and pilgrims who gave up of their livelihood to come and make a pilgrimage. So they would show them the table and they would say to them, look how much God loves you. Siluko kisiduro, that when you remove the bread after it was on the table from the previous Friday, meaning to say from Friday through the next Friday and through Shabbos, that's how long it was baked before you eat it. It still was considered fresh, as it states. So as it states that the day it was taken, it was hot bread. So the Gemara is going to go on, but we're going to stop here. And God willing, we'll finish the Masechta tomorrow and the Seder Moed, and we'll make a siyum on it in a few days. All right, everybody, have any questions? I'm happy to